Oh, ho, ho, here we go, boy!
At 3 of pre-season.
So three.
Check your mic.
We're back.
Mate, boys, what up? Another one.
It's another one.
We're loading the peeps with the content.
There's a lot of
Dropping
content.
in your ears.
I mean, there's a lot out there, but we cut the bullshit.
After each episode, I'm just like, we missed so much, but we got through so much. It's
I
like,
know.
Whoa.
I know. It's insane. It's insane. Yeah, look, we have so much information to go through. I mean, we just need to jump straight into it tonight, I think.
Let's do it.
Let's just tingle our taste buds.
Yeah. Actually.
Add some
First.
class
I
to
mean, we
this,
don't normally start with the snack chat, but just straight into it. Miles,
Yep.
you're in snack chat this week. What do we got?
Okay, so shout out to all the British fans. So I've got
Oh.
Percy Pigs.
Oh,
I don't know if you know,
I
this
love
is straight
them.
from the UK.
I've never heard of
These
them.
are Percy Piglets.
What do they look like?
Little babies.
Okay, so they're not actually like this originally, but they
They've
taste
got two different ones. One's in
Yeah.
the shape of a pig.
So
the
usually-
other one's in the shape of a pig.
that the more solid part is the whole pig face, and then these more translucent bits are the ears.
So we should eat them together then.
Yeah, do it.
To get a true representation.
That's very good.
Hold this while.
Little lollies for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about.
So they're
Yeah,
made
so-
with real fruit juice.
Yeah, that's very nice. Quite chewy. I'm going to rate it quick. I'm going to throw a little, oh my God, what beer have we got? Kirin Ichiban? Kirin Ichiban.
Yeah, and so for the
I haven't
drink,
had this.
Japanese flavors, Kirin Ichiban. It's the original.
Cheers, boys, to the
That
preseason.
Percy Pig is one of the
To us all drafting well.
most delicious lollies I've eaten in a very long time.
And personally, I'm actually disappointed that when I pulled this out of the cupboard, I thought it was the OG pack.
OG
but
pack.
I have eaten them all, and this is what I got left. But they do taste similar.
Mate, they're so good. I'm giving you an 8.5 on that.
Oh yeah.
Fucking delicious.
8.1. On the lolly. On the beer, don't love it on first sip.
No, try it again.
It's pretty heavy.
It is heavy.
How many
It's not a
standard
session
drinks?
beer, but if
Yeah,
you're just having
heavy.
one or two,
Actually,
really nice.
yeah, I've changed my mind. I'll give it a 7.6.
If you're having a bit of like sushi or some some Japanese food,
Yeah.
it's really good
Like
for
a
like
katsu.
dinner. Yeah,
Or a fucking karaage.
yeah. Even something really like chicken teriyaki. It's
Amazing.
Okay, I'm down with that.
Food beer.
Heat, your rating?
I'm not a heavier beer drinker if it is beer, so I'm just going to give you just a flat even 5.
okay. That's good for
Just
you.
a baseline,
Wow.
baseline beer
That is
rating.
flat. That is a flat rating.
Yeah, I don't expect much from this guy. So with a beer,
But I gave you good for the lollies.
did,
You know,
you did.
You've got to recognize.
thank you.
Got to recognize. Okay.
Recognize.
Speaking of recognizing, let's recognize some draft strategy.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Let's open this pod. I just want to kind of get a vibe for what you guys are thinking.
Yeah.
Some strategy chat. I think, it's a good place to start.
yeah. I'll talk to you.
Is there something you've got?
Yeah, there's many things that we can go over, and a lot of people actually say this as their last bit of strategy. It's like that last bit of info, but I like to say this as the first. Chill the fuck out,
Whoa.
Don't get stressed.
I'm chill. I'm
And,
chill.
Don't get a bit, as the players start dropping off, don't rush your pick and just think that you have to pick, a more scarier pick.
Like a risky
Pick,
Getting risky on
Just
it.
keep your cool, do the numbers.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Don't drink too much.
Don't drink too much.
That's been an issue before.
That has been a few issues.
I like that strategy. Just keep it calm.
Just keep it
Trust,
calm.
especially if you prepped.
Trust the process.
Trust the process, but then just take the new income of where things are gone.
Yeah.
In your stride.
Can
like that?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So, what are you focusing on? Like, how do you create the spine of your team? Like, where do you start? What's your first 4 picks? Like, what do you want to see? Is that these days we've seen some defenders go fairly early? Is that a factor in that spine, or what's kind of your vibe?
Yeah. Look, there's only 3 defenders that I would have in my spine, and that would be Trent, Trippier, and Robertson, because I think Robertson is going to have a better season than he did,
Okay.
personally.
Chile?
Chile, yeah, possibly.
The
Just a
injury
a lot
risk
of
is the
injury
thing. Yeah,
risk
that's not a
for that
spot.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Okay, I see what you're saying. So what
Yeah.
what does that look like, that makeup? Are you really focused on making sure you've got a good forward in those first 4 picks or in the first 2 picks?
Or a really good mid, because there's only probably a handful of strikers
That are worth having.
And then
Yeah.
that you've got to go for a mid.
For me, I'm feeling that if I'm early in the draft, I'm probably getting a striker and then I'm getting 2 mids.
Yeah.
But if I'm later in the snake, I could potentially end up with 2 forwards and a mid, or 1 forward and 2 mids.
Yeah.
It's more open, I think, when you're a bit later in the swing, because you then still got options available to you. But if you're waiting all the way for it to come back to you, you're not getting a good striker and you're probably doubling down on mids.
Correct.
Okay,
I
not
think
bad.
at the end of the first 3 rounds, you're most likely are going to have 1 striker and 2 mids.
Yeah.
Like that's the majority. And then there will be teams that have, like a good striker and maybe Watkins and then a mid. There are going to be some.
Or they could have
anomalies.
Trent in there. There'll be one
Or a
team
Trent,
with a
yeah.
Trent and 2 mids. Or
Exactly.
Okay, I've got another one.
Talk.
Fixtures. How much does it factor in? Obviously there's teams with better starts to the season. I know Chelsea's got a decent one. I'm pretty sure. Oh my God, I've just forgotten them.
Yeah.
There's
Arsenal have got really good
a really good
fixtures.
one. Yeah. There's a couple others. How does that factor in?
I think that you've got to take it into consideration, especially this year. I think this year is probably the biggest year for the, say the first 10 game weeks of the season. So if you look at the overall fixture rating, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, Brentford, Liverpool, they're the top 5, strategically.
Yeah.
But in attack, it changes ever so slightly, where Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, Everton, and United have the best fixtures. And then in defence, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Brentford, and Villa.
Okay.
So I really, really like picking a core unit from those 8 teams.
I think that's a really good insight to take. One thing I want to make clear as well is don't forget the long term as well. You're making strategic for a whole season. So definitely weigh in that strategy. But for key decisions in those very early picks, when it's like your key core players,
Yeah.
I think it has a little bit less weight.
Can I ask a Brighton question? This is specific. Brighton have Europe this year.
Yeah.
They've been very good, but typically teams that kind of start their trip into Europe tend to fade a little in the Prem.
They do.
I'm not saying that we're going to see big drops, but we might see some decent drops of maybe 20 points of those players that we value quite highly. What happens for you guys in, like, say, those early fixtures where there is no Europe? Do you guys play a strategy where you're like, well, maybe I'll draft them and then try and trade high before they go into Europe?
It's a good strategy, but just maybe don't get married to the player. Like if they do, like if you get Matoma and he starts like he did last season and he's just killing it, don't just get married, because I do worry about the depth at Brighton and those key players. They're going to want to play in Europe, right?
And they're going to rotate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And they've not been shy of rotation before.
No.
That's only going to be heightened. So, yeah, okay. All right, one last question, unless there's anything major that you guys want to point out. But I just have a question about, for those people that listen to our podcast, but they want a little bit more information, we as draft players don't typically always have the best knowledge that's catered straight to the draft game. Draft Boyz is a great outlet for that. But how do you guys interpret the budget information and apply it to draft?
yeah, so sometimes you need to look a little bit deeper, because budget, obviously, they focus on a lot of players that you just can't have them all. We're not playing Pokemon here, right? You can't have them all.
Yeah.
So I just like to...
And it's very much catered to what can you squeeze out of your budget to fit players in. It's like, who's a good 4.5 defender?
Yeah.
As opposed to just generally who's a solid player to have regardless of their price.
Yeah. I think that even that goes to another thing just about risk. It's like in draft, you almost it's like the KISS mentality. Keep it simple, stupid. You don't want to have too many risks, especially on draft night, because if you have, say, 4 players that are injury prone and risks of rotation, you haven't drafted well. We've found historically that if you just keep consistent performing Premier League starters, that you're going to be, in the top 3 more often than not.
And we especially look at, we're kind of moving away from your initial question, but we saw in our season last year, we hardly had any of our drafted players left in our team at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes back to your point there of like you got your few key, which are your like strongholds for the season.
Yeah.
And then a lot of it can come into how you manage pickups throughout.
That's it.
And trades. Some leagues, obviously, that are very low options on the waiver wire might have more consistent teams because trading is hard. But that's a good thing to remember too. Like some of those picks are not going to be forever.
And if you draft well, like we saw with our league leader who finished in first, he had about 6 or 7 players that he drafted in his team, which is almost unheard of.
It's crazy.
You can win.
So-
you can win the league in the draft. I mean, everyone
You
knows
definitely
it.
can.
Yeah. So if you draft well and get a little bit of luck on your side,
And just to close out your question for looking for insights, I just stay away from anything that talks about, the price variation and really bucketing players and thinking they're stuck in that level of that price. Like look at the other line stats, like pull the stats out of that of like the fixtures or the quality of the team and their defensive capabilities or their attacking threat.
And budgets so often talk about fixtures because they can obviously
Flip
teams and change it very quickly. For example, there might be a lot of them look at those first 6 game weeks and look at the season ticker and all that, and they just go, "Oh, this player's not worth having because they've not proven yet." Well, that's not true for draft.
no.
It's a long-term game.
Exactly. You've got to look at the whole picture and you've got to look at the value of that player. And we don't have the luxury of being like, "Oh, we'll just pick him up later." Like you got to pull that trigger.
Yeah.
And you got to back yourself and do your research and look at those players and think, will they over the season be a good player?
And I think that there's a big thing to do on form, like what I mentioned before, where this year may be the most critical year to actually look at the early fixtures for draft, because we've actually got 4 of the big 6 teams in all of those stats that I said in best defense, in best attack, and overall with Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, Liverpool, Man United. Like that's almost unheard of that's happened before. So I think that this is why we've really got to look at those early fixtures this season for draft in particular.
Great. Good answers, boys. Have you
Oh,
played
you're
this
welcome.
before? Have you done this?
It's only the 12th year actually.
Is it 12?
This is 12
Yeah.
that we've played.
Ain't no thing.
And just to update the new listeners, we've been playing draft for 12 years. We used to play on spreadsheets and
course.
have a lot of arguments with a lot of additional rules
Yeah. But
That
we
were
used to
in there.
source all the points from the FPL site.
and just update them all on spreadsheets. We had super subs. We had
Photoshop team sheets.
Photoshop team sheets.
We did.
Those were so good.
We had a lot of, we only had a certain amount of trades that we could do, and we could trade for trades.
Oh,
remember?
that's right. That was
With players.
hectic.
It was
Oh my God.
mental.
And loan deals. Remember the loans?
Loan
I was like,
deals.
oh, I'll loan you a keeper for
I
this
do
week.
miss loan deals.
Yeah, they were good. I think they'd still work.
They do still work.
I think they would still work. I don't know why that went away.
Yeah.
I think it went away a bit because we went down to a 7-man league.
And there was a
when
lot
we
of
did this. Well, there was no need. Yeah, true. Yeah, that's true. There were a lot of fights.
And there was no like document we were using on the reg to post
Yeah.
things. It was crazy.
There
It was cray.
There was betting for players.
That's disgusting. That still should be
We've come a
banned.
long way from that.
I don't want to talk about that anymore. I want to talk defenders. Now, we don't, we don't want to skip over defenders. And
Yeah,
I think
let's
we
talk
should,
about 'em.
let's start at the top. Alexander Arnold.
Oh,
He's fucking expensive in budget this year. Did you see his 8 mil?
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's absolutely insane.
And the thing is, he didn't even have his biggest haul.
yeah.
I don't know why they did. I think they were expecting him to play in that same position again. And I guess that's why I wanted to bring him up, Heat. So he did not have a great season until that happened.
No.
And now that they've got a bit more depth in that midfield, you know, how does he fit in now? He's not going to be playing in that same role.
Yeah, he's still going to be the right back from what we understand.
Okay.
And in the attacking phase, it seems like they're going to continue that element of where he pushes into midfield during attacks, from what I can tell at this stage. There's still a bit of talk about will he maybe take one of the defensive mid roles? Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think he's still just as valuable as usual despite his return last season, because the reason it wasn't as sexy is because of Liverpool's clean sheets.
Yeah.
So he only had one less assist last year than the year before and equal goals at 2, but he went down from 18 clean sheets to 10 clean sheets.
Wow.
And that's because Liverpool were just trash.
Yeah.
So if the team can collectively come back from that,
That's 40
play
points
with a
right there.
better midfield, that was a huge issue last year. Fresh legs. There's a lot of, importance now being thrown on Trent and both VVD because they're the new captain and vice captain of the team.
Trent's a vice captain?
Yeah, Trent's vice captain, which is huge.
That is huge.
So I am expecting a more consistent season from him.
Yeah.
What about Robbo? Let's sorry to transition so
No,
quickly,
no,
but
let's round out
let's
the
cover him
Liverpool
while we're
chat,
there. Because, I mean, we can lump Virgil and Robbo into this same chat. They were obviously both very affected by the clean sheets. For me, one of the things I noticed that with the way that Trent was allowed to get forward, Robbo suffered because he
definitely.
had to stay back. So he didn't get the same attacking opportunities. Now, if they go back to a more traditional way of playing in this new setup, we could see another spike from Robbo. He could get forward again. I mean, he definitely wasn't having a good season, but really no one in Liverpool's defense was having
And
a good
those
season.
clean sheet, that's a huge part. Again, Robbo last year had no goals but 8 assists. That's 3 less assists and 3 less goals. Not huge drops, but again, it's those clean sheets, 17 down to 9 for him. That's where the points drop is. So he's still influential in attacking, and he's definitely up there. Maybe not as high as he used to be,
Yeah.
but it's still a very good pick.
Okay, I want to move away from Liverpool now. I want to talk.
Let's talk Trippier.
I was going to say. Let me do a little preamble. I was going to say the highest defensive scorer in the league, 198 points, 38 starts. He played every game after having that injury. He played every game.
Do you think he can do it again?
That's my biggest question mark. Combo of Champions League and doing it again at his age.
Not to that level.
He
No,
got 39 bonus points.
I know it was
That's
crazy.
almost a quarter of his.
And he
points.
really did drop off towards the end of last season. Admittedly, it was the entirety of Newcastle's defense that wasn't as solid throughout the beginning.
Yeah.
I actually have not got a lot of information on what they've done to create more depth there.
I don't think they've signed any defenders from what
so
I've seen.
they've obviously got the classics: Shah, Botman, Burn, and Trippier and who's on the other side?
Target. They
Target,
have
yeah.
Tajay. I think they will again be defensively strong as a team. They've proven they've got that in them. I think maybe I'm actually feeling a little bit more confident than I just said a couple of seconds ago that he might not do it fully that again, but I still think he's a very strong pick.
Yeah.
But
Like
198,
16 clean sheets.
yeah, 198's pretty.
That's pretty
Pretty-
hefty.
It's going to be
fucking
high.
high.
It's going to be high regardless. I mean, he
wouldn't
did
be
only score 1 goal, which I think he can manage more than that, especially
Yeah.
with his free
Clean
kick
sheet.
ability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think he's going to score 150.
I feel like some people might pull the trigger and pick him very early.
Yeah.
I think
don't
he's
know.
going to be that classic one where
Someone goes like-
and everyone's like
Someone goes back into first round.
like Tim.
Yeah.
Tim, if you're
They'll look at
listening,
last.
don't pick up Trips.
But
So
he still is a
first
good
round.
option. Like,
He's-
if you're getting 150, then that's higher than a lot of mids that you can pick
Oh,
up.
100%. I just don't think you should go in the first round.
Yeah.
Okay.
probably not.
Now, I mean, we could talk about the rest of Newcastle's defense, but a lot of their points were very based off clean sheets.
Yeah.
Shah did have a decent amount of attacking potential as well. But I think, you can expect to potentially see roughly the same amount. Again, they have Champions League this year. Maybe we'll see a dip towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
That should be something you've got to be wary of. But I don't think you have to worry about that at the very beginning. You know, you can trade them away or drop them. So for now, you should treat Newcastle's defense as it was last year as a pretty good asset.
Yeah, agree.
Okay. We're moving fast here, boys.
Let's move on.
Let's talk United.
Yeah.
Some question marks in defense here. I want to start with Shaw, who is probably the best pick of the bunch for their defense. Had 124 points last year, 30 starts. He only scored 1 goal and 4 assists, but they did manage 12 clean sheets. And United had a really good defensive record towards the end of last season. What do you guys think about Shaw?
I think he's a solid pickup. I also really like Wan-Bissaka this year as well.
Really? Because I've heard stuff about him being
Really?
not loved.
Are being kicked out or?
I don't know. I don't know. Every year I think this chat comes up, but I don't know.
What you think Dallow's going to play?
Dallas played not as many preseason minutes, but I've heard that the last game he played very well.
Yeah, but I still think that Wan-Bissaka is going to get a good look in.
Okay.
I've been hearing some things actually.
All right. Fair enough.
And Martinez, I think, is just a really, really solid pick for in the center.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the issue is what are they going to do about the centre back shortage? Because Varane they've just looked after him. He's got some little knock or injury.
Right.
Please go and investigate that, because when I read it, it was very early. So there was no real information about it. But Shaw was coming in and playing at left centre back a lot of the time, and that was affecting his points. You know, there's talk of Maguire not being there this season.
Yeah. Well, after what Onana has been saying to him on the pitch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And
they had a
they
massive
did a blow up.
Oh,
Massive
really?
blow up,
I didn't
yeah.
see that.
He was yelling at him.
I guess that's another good point. It's a good segue, Onana, because there were quite a few mistakes from De Gea last season. If there weren't as many mistakes.
There's a few concerns as well about Onana because he plays a lot more aggressively with his feet.
Yeah. He can make a good mistake as well.
And there's been, a few comments about how, De Gea was a very high profile keeper and a lot of mistakes got really highlighted. So it's going to be interesting to actually see.
But that's
people
what
don't
happens
think
when
he's as good as keepers, De Gea. So
Oh, wow. Okay. That's going to be really interesting.
That's what happens when you go to United. You get scrutinized a lot.
Oh, I thought you were about to say you get screwed.
No. You get
screwed.
I mean, look, it's at a
Financially,
lot
you
of
don't.
teams, but, if you play for United, there's always so much fucking debates.
there is.
All right. Let's get off United. I'm moving quick here, boys. Let's punch through.
Yeah.
I want to talk Chelsea defense.
Yeah, this is an interesting one.
I think yet again, we're always talking about Chilwell and James. It's likely that Pochettino will go with a 4 at the back system, which may see them not get quite as far forward as they would have in that 3 at the back system when they would just get crazy high up the pitch. But in saying that, Pochettino has produced amazing fullbacks in his time. Remember Danny Rose went into crazy form under him for a bit. He had Trippier, was another player that was went nuts under him as well. I'm struggling to think of the other ones now. I had the names written somewhere. But anyway, there was 4 very good.
Oh, I heard Kyle Walker for a while.
Oh,
didn't he?
Kyle Walker too was another one. So
Bit before Sessegnon as well.
some pretty good consistent performances from fullbacks there. So maybe, we don't have to worry too much about the loss to them. But what are you guys thinking?
For me, I feel like they're lower in my defender priority list than they probably would have ever been.
Yep. I see that.
Historically in drafts, approaching a James or a Chilwell would have been very kind of early for some picks, potentially like 3rd round. I don't know. I feel like I'm prioritizing defenses of more teams and staying away from the name or prospect of them being a wing back.
I think there's, I think that they still need to go relatively middle of the draft at some point. I will say before we move on from Chelsea's fullbacks, just as a little side note, we all know that Reece James is kind of made of glass. So when he does get injured, there's a really, really good attacking replacement in
Gusto, yeah.
So he could be like a like for like when James gets injured.
And you've just made a new signing, I think, from Monaco, maybe? Or Marseille?
He's a centre
Did it go
back
through?
Yeah.
It's not fully through
It's
yet.
looking
I
very
have
likely.
his name here somewhere. No, I don't.
So
But yeah, very
so that's
likely
the
to add
thing.
more depth.
Who's
with
going to play
playing-
next to Thiago? You know, we got Badiashile, Chalobah.
Badia Shields injured, and we've got what's his face injured
Fofana
again
is injured.
as well. This other guy from Monaco. Oh, fuck, what's his name? I wrote it down today.
Diassi.
Yeah.
The Sassy.
Disassi.
I'm just going off what Hito said, but
Yeah.
yeah. Look, we've finally signed someone to kind of shore up that. Now, we've also had injuries to Chalobah. He might move away. There's a lot of movement potentially happening in Chelsea's backline. I think
Cucurella as well.
I think that's why we're talking about, but that's why we're talking about the wing backs, because it doesn't necessarily rely on the clean sheets, because I think with Chelsea, it's going to be a lot of changes and we won't know for sure who's going to be nailed on for starting at centre back for a while. I definitely think Chilwell, it's his spot to lose. Cucurella, I mean,
yeah.
he's maybe better defensively, but
Unless we play a back five.
I just think
yeah.
Chile is going to be Poch's man. Like, I think he's going to be really good. I mean, I'm sure he's going to love James too, but James has to be able to manage to string 10 games together. So for me, Chile has looked actually better in terms of fitness levels. And for me, I think maybe Hito, you were bundling them together a bit too much in terms of that injury proneness and all that stuff. I think Chile does rise actually above James in this situation, where in previous seasons I would have said it was the other way around, because James is insanely talented.
Yeah.
But Chile, you know, year in, year out, gets in that box regardless of injury, regardless of anything, and gets like really high goal involvement and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think maybe Chile is going to oust James this year in terms of he'll go earlier, or he should.
Let's just make a decision, just so that people know where we stand. Chilwell or James, who are we renting? Who are we
renting? Ooh.
who are we drafting higher?
I off that solid pitch, I would go Chilwell.
I think Chile.
Yeah, I respect the pitch,
But
and I
prepare
agree
to
with
be
a lot of
burned.
it. Yeah, I'm still going James, because I think James, with the captaincy, his mental game is just so much better, which I think will affect his physical performance. And I think that he's going to really carry this Chelsea team.
Look, and that could very much happen.
Yeah.
But with the information we have in front of us, for me, it's Chilwell.
Yeah, and I love it. I agree.
Okay, so look, we'll go through a few more here. I think we should talk Arsenal defense, because they've made some signings. Big
They were
issue for
very
them,
solid last year with returns.
and big issue for them last year was depth at the centre back role. When Saliba went, they had to bring Rob Holding in, and it just went
It
to
all went
shit.
shit,
You
yeah.
know, so they've brought in Timber this year, who can play, I think, on the right side, right back, or as a centre back.
Yep.
So he's kind of good backup to White and Saliba.
And Gabriel.
The question is,
Well,
who's
yeah,
going to
by all
get the
means.
start, isn't it?
I still think they stick with the same back line. I think Timber is a good backup, but backup.
Yeah.
I hear that Zinchenko's injured as well.
I don't have that information.
I've heard that he's injured. At the
Oh,
moment.
okay. I
just
don't have
recently. Just today, I heard.
Yeah. So look, anyway, if we're talking about the defenders, Gabriel has to get a really good shout out. 146 points, 38 starts. Like,
Wow.
he was pretty bulletproof last year. 14 clean sheets, which obviously dropped off when Saliba wasn't there. Now they've got Rice in front of them protecting them as well.
I think they've got a really strong chance of being, again, as strongly performing as last year.
Exactly. And it might take some time for Rice to kind of figure out his role in that team and do the job he's got to do. But if they tick along anything like what they did last year, they just have more depth, which for me was the issue last year.
Yeah.
Saliba went, and literally that's when they went through their whole patch.
And we'll come to it when we hit goalkeepers, but there's some developments there too.
Yeah, I did see some about that.
So
Okay, wait, don't get into goalkeepers.
But yeah, but a little teaser. But I'm feeling good again about them as a team and picks. Like, I'd be picking an Arsenal defender over a Chelsea defender.
Oh yeah, because they performed for the first 3 quarters of the season.
100%.
Just to help it keep
100%. Okay, so there was one. I don't really want to talk about City defense.
Well, they're a hard one, aren't they?
We have to.
Do we have to?
I find it very hard with them. Like, they are consistent, but they're not the highest scoring defenders since Cancelo got ousted and probably won't come back again.
Yeah.
They're not in the top defenders at all.
And they really had a knack
There's
of
a lot of
like
injuries.
conceding the first chance that was given on the goal. So they didn't concede many shots, but usually the first shot that was taken on their goal went in, and like there was some criticism of Edison about that, and I don't know. Look, but the thing is though, they're so highly rotated.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a good chance that the Croatian centre back Gvardiol, is that his?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Could come into that team and maybe fix some of those problems, and we could see better performances. But I just think that like we're still going to see a lot of rotation in that team. That is it's Pep.
And there's question marks too. There's been rumours for a long time of I think Bayern wanting Kyle Walker. They've quietened down a little bit, but there's also they want Cancelo out, and there's not much chat about who else is coming in except for this Croatian guy. So I worry about wing back replacements.
Yeah, me too. I don't know, and I don't know why I'm not hearing more about them.
You'll probably see Ake actually get some more minutes because he can play out on the right as well, I believe.
He has been playing there, I think. Do you guys feel stronger about them this coming season than last?
Like that they'll be better.
Yeah.
It does, for me, it does. I mean, look, maybe there's some luck involved in terms of that crazy stat about them conceding the first goal, the first shot or whatever that is taken on their goal in the game. Like that probably should improve. And with Gvardiol, like that is one of the most highly rated centre backs in the world right now. It'd be hard to think that wouldn't improve. So, but I still think that they are going to have the same City problems that they always have, especially in the centre backs, that they're going to be rotated. You know, how many have they got? Like fucking Stones, Akanji, Ake,
Diaz,
Laporte.
and Laporte, who might move away, and then Gvardiol, who comes in. I'm probably saying his name
Just a
wrong.
team of centre backs.
I actually think Diaz is probably your best pick. If you want to, if you're going to draft a City defender, I'd like Diaz.
But they're just not like other defenders. Like they're just not like other teams.
the one that plays every single game.
You're gonna see that a lot more from players like Gabriel. You're just not going to see those kinds of returns.
Thiago
I don't.
Silva.
You know. Yeah. Okay. Look, let's go for some more outsider ones.
Ben Mee.
Ben Mee.
Oh, boy. Fifth highest scoring defender last year.
Yeah,
37 starts, 3 goals scored, 2 assists. Fuck, he killed it.
I just worry a little bit if Raya does go. Because if he goes, I think that defense, which has been really good historically in the Prem,
Their value drops significantly.
I think it does.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agree.
I see what you're saying.
But
yeah.
he is there at now, so we'll have to take it for
At face value.
value for now. So
But just be wary of getting caught up thinking that they're solid starting players that you'll just get 110.
Aya was really, really good.
Yeah.
Obviously, Henry was fantastic last year as well. Pinnock.
They had a good season. I mean, if they can back that up, it's going to be a big deal. But yeah, Mee still he's pretty much always been a solid guy. Like,
Yeah.
there's a reason he's a favorite of ours and a
On and off the
favorite
pitch
of
as well.
Yeah,
He's
of course.
a solid guy. You'd have a few pints with him.
Oh, you would.
100%.
Anyway, look, I want to move away from their defense. I want us to talk a little bit about Brighton because, again, rotation, they're probably going to be under a bit more pressure this year. Estepinian was, in my opinion, very good last year.
He was very good.
128 points, 31 starts, 1 goal, 7 assists, 10 clean sheets. Look,
I think he's still going to be a very good option because he's a wing back. He's fairly attacking.
And he's favoured. You know, is there much competition in his role?
No.
I think he's probably one of the players that I would consider might get a similar haul.
Maybe similar, yeah. Maybe just I think it's going to be hard for Brighton personally, but
Yeah.
I think him and Dunk are really, really good options for Brighton defense. If you can nab one of them, I'd be happy.
They're always pretty solid.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of flexibility with defenders. Once you've got like two really strong ones,
Yeah.
you have so much flexibility to draft or not draft, like
Play the
waiver
waiver.
people in and
Yeah.
out. There's always options out there for just a solid defender option.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's a good thing that you just said, just which goes into draft strategy with defenders. I really just like to have two defenders that I want to play for the whole year. And then the other three, I honestly don't give a fuck about. And I'm using that
Yeah.
word strongly because you are going to rotate the shit out of defenders
Yeah.
and play the fixtures,
100%.
play the waiver.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk Aston Villa. We have talked up their midfield, but their defense at the end of last year was very good.
From pretty much the story since Emery came in after Gerrard,
Yeah.
absolutely skyrocketed. It allowed Mings to finish with 130. Really solid returns from the centre backs. They've just brought in a new guy as well. From Villarreal.
Yes.
Sure.
Fuck, his name is
Did they-
Pau Torres.
Yeah, Torres.
Pau Torres. And Emery's played with him before, really likes him, paid 31 mil for him. So, pretty penny. Diego Carlos was, I think, their record signing last season.
Yeah.
Bit injury plagued. The pairing that finished the season well was Mings and Konsa.
And Cash.
And Cash, but I'm talking about centre back pairing.
Oh, sorry,
But now they've got that depth there. I just wonder who will end up being the favourite. Mings and Konsa did such a good job, and it seems like they're getting the nod in pre-season because Carlos is still a little bit fringe, coming back from injury. Now with this Pau Torres guy,
Plays for Spain. Yeah, he's a really, really good player.
it's going to be interesting to see who ends up holding those centre back positions. But in my mind, for now, it's going to be Mings and Konsa. They're going to stick with what was working.
I was leaning towards Mings and Powell. Just because of the new signing, solid, unless he's just looking for depth.
I
Yeah.
don't think he is looking for depth. I think he's looking for the future. But as we said before, the defenders are interchangeable, and we're talking about Villa here. So I think that Powell could be one of those people that goes early, but too early.
Earlier than they
because
should.
Konsa and Mings will probably
Start and then
start
he'll
out
come
the
in
gates
later.
and he'll come in. So he's probably one of those guys that might just play into form. You might see one of those centre backs be out for a couple of weeks and then he's great because he's got great ball playing ability. I think he's 6'4" or something. He's a giant.
Yeah, he's big.
Yeah.
He's real big.
And then I'm pretty
Handsome
sure.
fella too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Emery goes, "Oh, and he's handsome." It's like,
fucking is.
Get a room. Anyway, so yeah, I think that was a worth mentioning is that Villa defense.
Yeah.
I think the last defense, it's probably two that we need to mention, is Everton and Palace.
I was going to say Everton, yeah.
And highlighting in particular Tarkowski. Once Dyche came in, it all changed for him. And yeah, in 4 of Dyche's last 5 full seasons as Burnley boss, the Clarets hit double figures for shutouts.
Wow.
5 of 6. He gets the defense shored up.
He really
While we
does.
might not be very excited about Everton attackers, defense-wise, Tarkowski feels like, kind of the main man.
It's one of the few Everton players I'd be happy having in my team.
I know, I'd agree with that.
As just a little bit of a specky, Branthwaite is, I don't think he's got much competition out on one of the sides. So I think he's definitely an option.
Yeah, okay. Look, I'm going to skip over. I'm not going to skip over Crystal Palace, but I'm just going to shout them out. They ranked 4th for expected goals conceded, but 12th for clean sheets.
Yeah, quite achievers last year.
They were. And look, looking at Gahey and Mitchell, they sat on about 95, 93 points, but obviously there was a mixed season there. Hodgson coming in at the end, and, that was really a lot changed.
They're just your solid, consistent picks of
Yeah, I think you'll get some starters, but I'm sure that they'll probably end up being fourth and fifth midfielders where you can swing them in and out based on fixtures.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay, I want to talk goalkeepers, boys. That's the only reason I'm rushing. I want to quickly get through these.
Yeah.
Look, and I think we'll just highlight maybe some of our consistent performers and then some of our something of interest.
Yeah.
Allison.
Yeah, one of the most valuable keepers you can have. Very consistent over the 5 seasons he's had, and probably the number one keeper that will go first. He seems to have ousted Edison in that competition, but we've seen a few others rise to the top in the last season.
Yeah.
Outside of the top 4.
I mean, Pope. We talked about Newcastle's clean sheet potential. I mean, he's a great keeper. He was out for a little while at the end of the season. Still got a decent haul. I don't have the points in front of me, but
He got 157.
157 points. I mean,
He's only 5 behind Allison.
and he's been such a consistent performer. This is not new. Pope is a great keeper. There's no doubt about it. I would value him quite highly in almost the same bracket as Allison.
I'd have to say that Ramsdale gets a shout in the top bracket as well this season, just for what we were saying earlier about bringing Declan Rice in. They've obviously strengthened defence as well, and I think that Ramsdale has got to get a mention in that bracket.
I think he deserves it too. The question is, Raya.
Raya, I was hoping you bring that up.
So,
What
Like,
the
that's a-
fuck?
that
If
is
you're
a-
Ramsdale right now, you're like, what the fuck?
yeah,
Yeah. You'd
Really?
be like, he's number 2, right, boss?
Yeah, boss.
Boss, I'm number
Boss.
1. Because that is a strong fucking second keeper.
Yeah.
I don't know why Raya would do that unless he thought he could be number one.
it's crazy.
I mean, Ramsdale had his moments last year. Like
He did, but I don't know if it was always his fault. There was a lot of problems going on at Arsenal in those final 10, 12 games.
yeah, 100%.
I don't know. That puts a little bit of a question mark over me. Like, I wouldn't be picking him maybe as my first.
Raya or Ramsdale?
Like,
yeah,
I'd it'd throw me off picking one because then I'm like, okay, suddenly I'm now stuck playing with my second keeper pick.
I think if you've got a late draft like we do and Raya has not gone,
Yeah.
I don't think he's leaving.
Yeah, I think that's a good
I
point.
think if
to
he
wait.
starts-
He's been rumoured away from the Prem too. Like it's not just Arsenal interested. Like everybody's interested.
Everyone's, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
who wouldn't be after what he's just showed us?
Yeah, that would undoubtedly will be interesting. I mean, the next one I kind of want to bring up is Kepa. He had a 75.8 save percentage, so 3.23 saves per 90. He only finished on 118 points, but the back end of his season was really good.
Yeah.
and
like-
29 games, so still missed a solid.
Yeah,
9 games.
118 points in a terrible Chelsea team.
Yeah,
I mean, I think Chelsea's defense will be better than it was
Agreed.
last year.
I mean, how could it get worse?
Yeah, it couldn't. So I think his name needs to be in contention. Prediction for where his points could get to, I would not be surprised with more consistent starts to see him somewhere in the 140s.
yeah, they can get the 130, 140. I think the main thing when we talk about keepers is you look at the spread of what they got last year from the best keeper down to like maybe the 10th keeper. You're seeing probably like a 40-point difference.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty crazy when you think about that compared to other positions and the fact that people are maybe going to focus on one good keeper and then not touch another till their last pick of the draft.
Yeah.
That's
the
where
keeper strategy is always interesting.
That's where I find that a bit of a shout. Like, you don't need to panic and get Allison as your third pick, in my opinion.
But what? Okay.
Like,
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah, no.
but like
I see what you're
some people will see the number and go, I want Allison, I want the best keeper. But when you actually review the role of keepers and the spread of points,
Oh, yeah.
it's a wasted early draft pick, in my opinion.
yeah.
No, I kind of understand that, and I do agree. I do want to segue, though, with a little sneaky one that maybe the rookies will miss. So Lloris is looking like he might be leaving. He still hasn't left, but they've signed a new guy, Vicario.
Yeah.
26-year-old from Serie A's. From Serie A, sorry. He had the fifth highest save percentage last season with 71.3%, which kind of rivaled a lot of what we just talked about. Whether they'll keep a lot of clean sheets under Ange is, something that we're not sure about yet because Ange does play very attacking football. But it could be a good way into getting a keeper from a top 6 side, if you can call them that.
They get a lot of grief.
I know, I love giving it to them. But it could be an easy way in to get that later in the draft.
Yeah, that's a good point. Look, we've spoken about Onana already. I want to talk about Leno. And I want to talk about Leno with a simple reason of, I saw this today about a rotation keeper option. So whether or not Raya stays at Brentford, the dream fixture scenario, if you can have the Brentford keeper and the Fulham keeper to go on rotation, with their fixtures, it looks amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I saw it from a YouTuber today, and then I looked up the fixtures and compared it, and it's almost the dream scenario.
As in, like, it's obvious when you would not play one and play the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but does that ever really work out?
It might not, but it was a very good point, and I really liked it.
It's something interesting for a new strategy. Boys, I think we've really touched on everything there. I mean, we've had to go pretty quick there because there's so much information. But yeah, I think we've highlighted a lot of the best kind of options defensively this year. Yeah, how do you guys feel?
I feel it's good, and I think it's great because we've. I'm just tooting our own horn here, but it's good because it's that reminder of you just need a couple of solid defensive picks, and then the rest you can really have that flexibility in your squad. Like. Maybe don't overanalyze the longer list of picks further down.
Because it'll probably change.
Yeah.
And
it drops off from those 198 to Trippier down to 100 player like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And you're going to be dropping a lot of these players. So maybe just with all of those defenders
I won't have to
talking
drop any of
about
mine.
is just look at the fixtures. Once you've drafted your 2 defenders, for your next 3, just look at the really good fixtures for the first 10 weeks.
I'm going to draft so good this year.
You're going to be on a beach in Thailand. I don't think it's possible.
I look forward.
They got great reception.
I look forward to watching you.
The
not
Wi-Fi there is
drop
immense.
any of your team.
That's my strategy this year.
Do you want to make a pledge to the?
Based off what happened to me fucking last year, where I dropped Watkins and I fucking dropped it was a great. Grealish. I kept Foden the whole year. Jesus, it was painful though. March, oh my God, it was fucking brutal. I should just say with the whole first lineup.
Ban yourself.
I had Chile too. Chile didn't do that well, but
he got 70 or something.
Oh yeah, true.
Ban yourself from drops this season. Let's do it.
Yeah, okay. Fuck it. All right, on that note, that's it for the D boys.
Bye.
Peace out. Oh, that was kind of creepy.